Hello my YouTube Goobers. Today I'm bringing you a video on Hitchhiker for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. This is going to cover everything you need to know about Hitchhiker, how to play him, and with some map details as well. Hitchhiker is one of my favorite characters that I like to play because you get to do a little bit of everything. You can chase a little bit, you get to protect your objective pretty well, and then the strategic value of the traps and everything. So he's a lot of fun to play. Highly recommend checking them out, and hopefully this guide helps you out in that way. So first off, we are going to talk about his traps. This is the pathing that I take right now for his traps and the reasons behind that. As you can see for level 1, when they're breaking free from the traps, it's 19% more difficult for victims, increasing the amount of damage inflicted on the victims when snared by 33% for level 2. And for level 3, any victim caught in a trap continues to take damage over a short period of time. So the reason this is good is because they're going to be in that trap longer, they're going to take more damage when they step into it, and they're going to be taking damage over time as well. So it's a very good trap. Helps you get the victims killed faster. The perks that I'm running on Hitchhiker, the first one is wireframe. The reason I run this is because I can traverse the gaps 40% faster and crawl spaces 60% faster. This perk is amazing when it comes to chasing victims down. Just keep in mind you're going to patrol over chase because you want to keep your objectives under lock, but when you are able to chase, this allows you to stay on top of them and they can't really outrun you with this. Very, very nice. I also pair this with Violent. Violent's my second perk that I run. It is going to increase my damage when I have a full blood vial. I don't go around collecting blood buckets. The blood I do get is from attacking, and when it's full I get a 20% increase in damage. So that starts to be active once I start hitting people or if I get a kill. I also pair this up with Scout, and the reason I run Scout is for the movement speed increase, which is 15%. So not only am I going faster, I can go through the gaps and crawl spaces faster, and I'm going to do more damage. I'm only going to do 10% more damage because there is a negative effect to Scout, which is 10% less damage. And again with Violent, it's 20, so we only have 10% left over, but those are the perks that I'm running. Now, when it comes to grandpa perks, in all honesty, the only perk you need to have, and only one person needs to have it equipped, is the Scarier Alarms. This is why I go in the pathing on my skill tree for Hitchhiker this way, is because of the Scarier Alarms. It is one of the strongest grandpa perks you can have. Highly recommend if you are being absolute sweaty and you're playing with friends, so you're in a full 3-man, that you only run this. And if you're really wanting to run a second perk, then Nobody Escapes Hell. But obviously with this build, my only option is going to be Exterior Alarms, and I'm not running anything else. So with the skill tree, I briefly brought up the reasons on why we run it is because we want to get Exterior Alarms and the perks that I am running: Scout, Violent, and Wireframe. So this is the pathing that I take to get that, to be able to achieve it. So when it comes to attribute points, this is what I'm running on Hitchhiker. I'm running 34 Savagery and 35 Endurance. The reason behind that is because I want to be able to stay in chase as long as I can while doing a good amount of damage. And this seems to be the sweet spot for me. I might slightly change this because I still want to test out like what exact number I need or feel like I need. But this is where I'm at currently with it. Alright, so when it comes to actually playing the game as Hitch, we're going to talk about each specific map and how to pretty much play Hitchhiker as efficiently as possible, starting with Family House and your traps. The very first thing you're going to do when spawning on Family House is trap the outside front window. You are then going to run into the house, lock the door behind you, and you're going to run upstairs to trap the fuse box. That fuse box can spawn in 3 different places: the middle room, Hitch's room, or the rear upstairs room. And then you're going to trap that fuse box, and your third trap is going to be more preference, but I tend to like to trap the front staircase if the fuse box is either in Hitch's room or that center room, and I latch that back room door. If this fuse spawns in the back room door, I'll latch that door, or the back room as well, I'll latch that door, but I'll also trap just around the corner of the stairs, so if they run up it and they round that corner, they're going to run into the trap and not see it right away. Or if they barge through the door, they'll end up running into that trap as well. So it kind of still helps out, and you still have the trap on the fuse either way. So that covers the Family House traps. Now with Slaughterhouse, If the fuse box spawns on the right gen door, I'm gonna trap that. So I'm gonna run straight there, run to that fuse box and trap it. And then if it doesn't spawn there, my first 2 traps are gonna be on Grandpa's shack. The broken opening right near the staircase is where one trap's gonna go. The second trap is gonna go in that like pen gated area that goes into the exterior, just like in front of where Grandpa spawns out there next to that blue container. You're gonna want to trap that as well. The second and third location for fuse box spawns in that exterior, so you can put the third trap there if it doesn't spawn next to the gen door. I only recommend those 2 traps on the shack if and only if you can rely on your Bubba to break those. So if your Bubba's not listening to you, there's no comms, and you don't think you can rely on him to do that, then I'd recommend just trapping the fuse and then trapping the inside of the sliding door and the holding pen gap, because then you'll get more value that way. When it comes to gas station traps, you're gonna run straight to the fuse box again. It can spawn in 3 different areas: the Grandpa's shack, or inside the front bedroom or rear bedroom of the house. Now if it spawns on the shack, we're obviously gonna trap the fuse box. You're gonna trap the gap right next to it on the shack, and there's that big long middle gap to the left of the shack that you're gonna also trap. Now if it spawns inside the house, we're gonna trap the fuse box, the bathroom gap, and your third trap at that point is gonna be more preference. I like to trap inside of the house, usually like in one of the door frames, just so that they step into that before they get to the fuse box. So that's kind of what I like to do on those maps. The one caveat to things is the valve tank, right? Your third trap, whichever one you're gonna find less useful, and that's gonna be dependent on the map of whichever one you want to grab. You're always gonna leave the fuse box one, but pick one of the others to where might need to move that to the valve tank if the victims are trying to apply pressure that way, just to be able to get that turned off in a more safe manner. If your teammates aren't coordinating with you, then you might have to go do that. That way you have your trap to stop them from backstabbing you. Now when you're playing a match as Hitchhiker, obviously comms are very, very important. If your teammates are communicating with you, the first thing you want to do is like, hey, what side are you planning to guard or protect? I'm gonna trap this, and depending on what you're gonna do, I'll adjust to it. So like, obviously if you have a really good cook on your team, you don't really have to do a whole bunch besides keep your trap set, patrol, and chase. But if you say have a no cook and it's like a Sissy or a Johnny or something, then typically for the family house, you're gonna patrol the first floor, resetting your traps when needed, chase outside if they go through the window, if you can't coordinate with Bubba or the Sissy or Johnny. Same thing with going out back and whatnot. But again, if you have a good cook, you should be able to chase more freely. You may even maybe have time to go in the basement for some hunting if they're comfy with it, Family house isn't like too bad. You just gotta make sure your window trap stays trapped and the fuse is trapped, and it's pretty, small and tight quarters, so it's not so bad for Hitchhiker. Gas station is a little bit more tricky. Typically you're gonna be watching the battery side unless you have a really good cook, in which case you can start patrolling and chasing more freely. And if you have a Sissy on your team, then they might choose battery to where you have to guard the gen side. Johnny should be doing the gen side because he spawns over there, so kind of gives you your idea of what you need to do on gas station. When it comes to slaughterhouse, ideally you want to be guarding the gen side because that's where your traps will be if you have that Bubba that you can rely on breaking those crawl spaces. So if you can't rely on the Bubba and you're gonna trap the slaughterhouse and holding pen stuff, then you'll be on that side instead. You have to run over to reset your fuse trap when needed. So it really just depends on your team composition as well as they are communicating with you or not. Some general advice that I would give for Hitchhiker players is remember to protect your fuse and the gates and doors. Don't over chase and don't overcommit to those chases unless all the victims are accounted for. If you're down to the last one or last two, and you know Johnny's on one and you see the other, then there's no reason to sit there at your gate patrolling back and forth, right? Go commit to that chase. All four of them are alive and you see the Anna, you know, definitely go chase them, get some hits in, but don't go too far away from what you have to protect, because that's gonna make the game harder for them. It's gonna keep them enclosed in a smaller area instead of opening up more of the map. So always protect your objective over committing a chase unless the victims are all accounted for. Remember, I did say that you can move your trap when needed to put on valves. So if the victims are really putting that pressure on, that can help alleviate some of that. So move your trap if need be. You can trap that in the beginning if you'd like to, but again, that's preference. I don't usually trap it right away. I usually do it mid-mac. If I start seeing them to grab valves or valve tank starts to get turned on, then I'll move my trap over there. I don't ever grab blood at the start as Hitchhiker. You do not have the time to. You need to rush and set up your traps because good victims are gonna be out before you even get your third trap down, depending on the map. So only grab blood when there is downtime. Last victim or last two victims remaining, you're looking for them, you need that grandpa aura, and maybe you start grabbing blood there, depending on if you have a good cook or even a good sissy, to where they're gonna be filling up grandpa way faster than you'll be able to with this build. This is a general statement to any family member that you play, and you will be surprised how often I run into it. Do not forget to lock your doors and gates. Please don't forget. It's so traumatizing seeing those Johnny mains run outside a gate and not even close it behind them, or if they do close it, they forget to lock it. I'm sorry, Johnny mains. It literally feels like it's just you guys. Obviously it happens to others, but I feel like I see it on you the most. That wraps up my Hitchhiker guide. Covers all the basics on it. There's not really too much more to it outside of just map knowledge on how to chase properly. But again, with this build, you're not going to lose sight of someone in most scenarios because of wireframe and scout, and you're going to do pretty decent damage as well on top of that. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you got any questions, drop a comment down below or pop by the stream. You can find me live on Twitch, Trovo, YouTube, as well as Kick. Have a good time. Bye, everyone.